Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. All right, everyone. We are. Let's see. We're close to being live here. Let's see. Okay, everybody. All right. Looks like we're up. Hello, hello. Happy Whiskey Wednesday to you all. It's Burnie. Come from chats. It's Wednesday again, folks. You know what that means. When it's Wednesday, we need to get some whiskey in our glasses. And so happy Whiskey Wednesday to you all. It is February 5th. And gosh, it's a great day. It's a great day. It's getting a little chilly outside again here in DC, but we've had some phenomenal weather. Couldn't complain at all, especially uh, just a week or two ago. We had snow on the ground. It was super, super frigid out. And so we're joining in live. It looks like some cold is coming back in, and just in time. If you're not set for the cold weather that we have on the horizon, come on down and get some whiskey, or go to your local retail shop, grab some whiskey. Go to your local bar and restaurant, enjoy whiskey amongst friends, and even make new friends in the process. So, gosh, everybody, thank you so very much for joining in. Let's see. No, we're not going to show it maybe on there. Actually, we may end up. Yeah, let's try it. Let's try it. Okay. All right. So as many of you all may have seen, we literally have recently started streaming live on YouTube, and we hope that those of you who join us on the YouTube or find us on the YouTube will give us a like and a follow. We appreciate it. Um, as you see, I'm not with Zoe today. He is celebrating Mama Zoe. It's her birthday, and so I hope they are having a phenomenal time celebrating the birthday of Zoe's mom. Hey, there's no better reason to miss a Whiskey Wednesday for Zoe than to be with loved ones celebrating the birthday and special occasions for sure. So as you see on the screen, folks, I better go ahead and get up here now. Boom. Yeah, let's see me now. We've been looking at Bardstown Bourbon Company, folks. Oh my goodness. That is the lineup of today. As you see on the screen, on your screens right now, my face finally. Sorry about that, folks. Struggle streaming as always. You know, nothing's new. Nothing's new. But we got a lineup of Bardstown Bourbon Company, folks. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to get into this. It's such a fun lineup. Um, yeah, I hope that for those of you joining me on Instagram, you have a decent enough view. I'm sorry about that. If you don't, I'll be sure though to center the whiskeys that I am currently drinking on the table. We are starting from this side though, so that works out just fine. But we have, let's see, three more whiskeys that you can't see. It looks like they're off screen for you guys on Instagram. Hopefully, those of you that are on YouTube have a perfect view of things. And yeah, let's just see if I can get a quick little. Yeah, looks like wins on YouTube. Everything is going well. For those of you who would like to join us on the YouTube, go to chats dash D6B. That'll take you to our channel itself, and you can click on the Whiskey Wednesday. Of course, since we have 0 followers, I think right now on YouTube, you got to do more than just type in Chats Liquors potentially. Maybe if you typed in Chats Liquors Whiskey Wednesday, maybe something will pop up. So anyway, once again, thanks so much for joining me. So we're going to get back to the scheduled programming and take you back to this screen maybe. We'll split the screen a little bit. and show you Bardstown Bourbon Company. Hey, folks, I haven't been there myself quite yet, but when you pull up in the driveway, I guess that's what you see. Gosh, isn't that beautiful? That is what you see. Bardstown Bourbon Company was established, I want to say back in 2014 or so. And they got to going. I think there were four partners or so that invested in this distillery. They had Napa Valley roots, so they bought their Napa Valley investment, but that kind of visual and kind of destination, as everything in Napa Valley, as we kind of know Napa Valley as the most famous wine country in the United States. Of course, a lot of investment goes into Napa to make it a destination point for people across the globe to really come, be able to enjoy beautiful landscapes, to enjoy, of course, not only the production facility, but even to grab a great meal in all-star award-winning restaurants, to have beautiful dining experiences and so forth. And gosh, I think that's probably the biggest thing as far as destination wise that Bardstown Bourbon Company brings to you. I mean, just gorgeous landscapes. I hear the restaurant is super good. You can see some of these interior views I'm flashing across the screen right now. Um, Gosh, you can kind of see this above view in the restaurant. I want to go. Come on, y'all. We need to set up a trip to go to Bardstown Bourbon Company. I just need a little bit of time on my hands to be able to get away. Of course, if you go and you do the social media thing, you got to take a quick pic in front of that wall right there. That's a beautiful wall right in the midst of their dining room, which is, I guess, part of their distillery, folks. And so that's pretty dope, right? Well, let's go back over here. Let's see. Let's show you a picture of the guy who is doing all the magic. We have to thank this gentleman here. His name is Steve Nally, folks. Steve Nally has decades, I think almost 5 decades in the bourbon world. Um, he started his, yeah, it's truly five. He started his journey in 1972 at Maker's Mark Distillery, folks. So, yeah, that is 50 years plus now. Um, so he became master distiller at Maker's Mark in 1988, and I would assume that maybe his the individual that came in after him was maybe Dave Pickerel. I have to get Dave Pickerel's his time frame there at the Maker's Mark Distillery and being the master distiller before he went off. We talk about Dave Pickerel all the time. R.I.P. Dave Pickerel. But yeah, Mr. Nally, the master distiller. He was also behind Wyoming whiskey. We were just talking about Wyoming whiskey. Just last Whiskey Wednesday, we had Wyoming whiskey on the tasting table. Shout out to Zoe. I think he's joined in. Um, Gosh, yeah, yeah, yeah. We got some Wyoming whiskey coming in tomorrow or Friday. So I'm really fell in love again with Wyoming whiskey. But um, Mr. Steve Nally was there at Wyoming whiskey back in 2006 to welcome in their first batch of whiskey out into the marketplace in 2012. He returned back to Kentucky in 2014, and he was the first employee of Bardstown Bourbon Company as master distiller. So shout out to master distiller Steve Nally. Look forward to meeting you one day, sir. And gosh, such a you know storied history in American bourbon production. Let's show you him at Bardstown Bourbon Company up there putting some whiskey into glasses, folks. That's the name of the game right there. Well, this is kind of where it starts, folks. If you can see this picture here, we're just going to run through a couple pictures. These are the mash tanks where they kind of add those ingredients: the corn, the rye, the barley, the wheat, depending on the actual occasion of things, and they get that brewing. They get that brewing up. It's probably a zoomed out picture with the caps on those tanks. That low alcohol product is being produced, and gosh, after that's produced, it's now time for actually the distilling process. And look at these gorgeous Vendome stills, copper stills that they have. Gosh, that's neat, right? And you can see it's kind of right off the distilleries restaurant. You can see some of the lighting and that big wall of, I don't know what that wall is made from, corks or something. I'll have to go back and take a closer look at that. But man, such a gorgeous distillery. Yeah, those are a couple of the twin columns there. They call them the twins, I think. All those columns, the twins. So they're twinning it. Going to move on and going outside and walking around the property. You're going to see the various rick houses on the property. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stories high. I mean, such a beautiful rick house. It is not temperature controlled. So all of the ebbs and flows of the temperature patterns there in Bardstown, Kentucky, you'll have that affecting all those barrels on that first to seventh floor there at that rick house. Gosh, you'll see another rick house here. Also, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe that's a 6-story rick house there. Maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that one looks like a 6-story rick house. Oh man. And that's the interior of one of these rick houses. Oh boy, that is so beautiful. Definitely got to plan a trip, folks. If you haven't been there, like I haven't, it's definitely worth a trip just to see this place and to hang out. Better give yourself a couple days because all the whiskeys, all the delicious whiskeys that they make, you just need a full day, maybe two, just at Bardstown Bourbon Company. That's super cool. All right, folks. Well, we are back to chats now, everybody. All right. This is exciting, exciting, exciting. Thanks everybody who has joined in. The fun begins. Once again, I'm so sorry, folks, for those of you who are kind of being cut off on some of the visuals from my Instagram. This is the first whiskey that I'm going to taste today. I'm going to put a little bit of this one in my glass. Let's go ahead and get its ticker shown across the bottom of the screen. It's the Origin series, folks. It is the Origin series, the first release of the Origin series that I want to say the first time that it hit the shelves was probably about 3 years ago now. It was probably about 2022. I might be wrong on that. But this was a kind of standard high rye recipe. We're talking about the Origin series representing Bardstown Bourbon Company's own distillate, folks. So it's 100% the distillate from Bardstown Bourbon Company. No purchased distillate in this blend. Now, if you remember, there was something called the Fusion series, which Bardstown Bourbon Company would purchase whiskeys, many times older whiskeys, sometimes blending in some of their younger whiskey, but making a unique blend of various age statements and so forth. And those are always fun. There are some iconic releases within that Fusion series lineup. We do have the opportunity to try some other whiskeys, 4 whiskeys that are not within the Origin series, but we're actually going to start out with 4 Origin Series offerings. Once again, the first one being this high rye bourbon. We're talking about 6 years old, 60% corn, 36% rye, 4% malted barley, folks. So a famous mash bill, of course, I've loved it from Bardstown Bourbon Company. Um, I love that mash bill from uh, MGP and others. So let's start the show. Cheers to everyone out there joining into this Whiskey Wednesday, February 5th, 2025. And I must also say, happy birthday, happy anniversary to Chats Liquors, folks. I would give it an applause myself, but hopefully, you all can throw some claps into the chat. But literally, we have the pleasure of now celebrating 91 years here at Chats Liquors from the Chatlin family, but in my family, the Williams family, for 47 years as of February 1st, folks. So clap it up to my parents. They know who they are. B&O themselves, Williams. Gosh, 47 years today. They started in this business here at Chats Liquors, and we're happy to be raising a glass to them 47 years later. Cheers. Yeah, Beans 90. Come on now. Appreciate it, so. Appreciate it. So let's get into the whiskey, folks. Once again, this is Bardstown Bourbon Company Origin Series, their first release, which was the 60% corn, 36% rye, 4% malted barley. It's a 6-year-old. Loving the very easy spice characteristic that the rye offers up with some sweet corn, kind of an undertone of cornbread, or even one of my favorite things, corn pudding, as the rye spice, hints of cinnamon in that sweet corn mix. It's almost like that warm corn pudding that Miss O, Mom Dukes, prepares for the holidays. Very easy. We're at 96 proof here, folks. So there is very little volatility of alcohol, just enough to warm the nasal passage just a bit. But let's give it a taste. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great starting point right there, folks. So my palate is adjusting to the 96 proof because it is the first whiskey of the evening, but it's not aggressive at all. Has a kind of balanced arc of flavor, nothing too pitchy though, and intense. A nice kind of roundness on the mid palate. A lot of the flavor stays on the mid palate for this first sip. Um, Once again, softer, slightly silky, more silky nuances. I'll even maybe put it into the sweet realm, maybe a little bit of the glycerin or those sweeter corn flavors stay mid palate, with the spice just kind of evaporating in a fairly easy way. Finish is pretty clean. Nothing too complicated about the whiskey, I will say. Into the finish, I'm not seeing an abundance of secondary flavors coming forth. But let me give it a second sip. See what we got. Shout out to Jupiter Loom, Anna herself. What's going on? Holding it down up front right here at Jets today. Happy anniversary, Anna. I think Anna has been with me of my journey of 20, let's see, 26 years here now. 26 years. Yeah. She's been with me at least 20 of those, right? Shout out to Anna Loom, everybody. Okay. Once again, on the second nose, there's a freshness factor, light spices, sweet corn, almost candied corn this time. just like a warm spice array, mostly cinnamon. Nothing really green at all. Like the rye isn't really showing up in an aggressive way. It's just really mellow. Maybe a little bit of a mint note. Yeah, that time, as the palate has adjusted to the ABV of 96 proof, very little intensity of alcohol. Um, Quite smooth and easy drinking. There's enough flavor there to keep you engaged with, once again, some of these sweeter tones, some nice spices. There's enough on the palate to really coat the palate for a flavor that just really sticks on the mid palate. Nothing aggressive on the back end. That's a solid whiskey, folks. I'm going to give this whiskey, I like it quite a bit, a solid 7.25. I'm going 7.25 for the first whiskey on the tasting table. Yeah, let's see. Burnie, we are going 7.25 for the Bardstown Bourbon Company. Their Origin Series, the original release, 96 proof. It is a high rye style, 60% corn, 36% rye, 4% malted barley. Great way to start the show, folks. Zoe, you're with me on that 7.25. Love it, love it, love it. Absolutely. Thanks everybody who has joined in thus far. Hey, this is fun times, folks. Did I tell you we are now streaming on YouTube? That's new for us, everybody. And so I'm super excited that we have the the opportunity to now reach out to more of an audience. For those folks who want to catch us on YouTube, hey, it is live, folks. It is live. And so we're happy, happy. Hey, Steve Dalzell, thank you so very much for joining into the YouTube, my friend. That's a beautiful thing. I'm loving it, loving it, loving it. Hey, let's see if I can catch it on the comments here from this stream. Oh, yeah, absolutely. So no need to have to open up YouTube. We are live there. So pleasure having you, Steve. Come on, man. I'm pretty excited, folks. So, gosh, we're going to move on. Really like that Origin Series 96 proof. Once again, that was the first release. 7.25 for me out of 10 points. Oh, as we move on, I'm going to sit that bottle there. But before I start talking about it, I'm going to first do something very important, folks. And that is have my bit of hydration, little water rinse in the glass there of cold water. You know, we always do this between the drams, folks. Rinse with some cold water in your Glencairn. Go ahead and drink the water. Don't pour it out. Allows you to stay hydrated throughout your drinking experience. And also just cools down that glass, maybe 10, 15 degrees a bit, so that when you pour that next dram, you're just maybe about 5 degrees cooler than room temperature. Just allows those flavors just to jump out of the glass just that much more. Now, folks, we're moving on. We're going to pour a gorgeous dram. It also allows you the opportunity to see those oils in the whiskey really force the water droplets to just run from the whiskey. So it gives you a better idea of the legs of the whiskey and the oils and viscosity that the whiskey has to offer. Folks, let's go ahead and move on. Let me change my banner up. Boom. I've just poured into my glass, folks, probably what's been my favorite over the last few months of the offerings from Bardstown Bourbon Company. This is their bottled in bond wheated recipe, folks. bottled in bond. So what does that mean? It means 100 proof, right? Shout out to the Bottled in Bond Act of 1897, when there was some standardization given to bourbons and whiskeys. They were aged in government bonded warehouses, and there were always bottles that were no younger than 4 years, and it had to be bottled at 100 proof. So this particular bottle in bond wheated recipe is a 6-year-old as well. It was distilled back in 2017. 68% corn, 20% wheat, 12% malted barley, folks. That one right there. Oh man, I love the color on it. I love the viscosity. We're talking about across the board, non-chill filtered. So these bottles are not chill filtered before bottling. So you get all of the viscosity, all the phenols and so forth that carry into the whiskey. But it's a wheated bourbon, folks. And you're talking about a 12-year malted barley component. I'm so sorry, not a 12-year. I apologize. 12%. Pardon me. 12% malted barley, 20% wheat. So that barley malt really does bring such an abundant kind of beautiful layer to the actual aromatics and the palate of the whiskey. Being a wheated style whiskey, you certainly get the creaminess. This is all day long creme brulee, rich, rich vanillins, rich, um, a rich hint of citrus, like maybe just a little bit of an apricot like note there. I am seeing, while I saw it in the first whiskey more so of a corn profile push forward, here I'm getting more roundness, more complexity of aromatics. Wow, it's gorgeous aromatically and just so welcoming. There's zero volatility of alcohol on this one, although we're talking about 4 proof points higher than the first whiskey that we enjoyed. We're at 100 proof here, folks. Ah, I love this stuff. The nose is gorgeous. Let's give it a sip. Mm, mm. Wow. The rare flavors are phenomenal. Once again, the apricot, there are spices there as well, kind of toasty spiciness. It's almost like a flambe of sorts. Once again, creme brulee, right? You fire up the crust of that creme brulee, but you also add in maybe some spices. It's not really as much just a direct cinnamon spice forwardness, but maybe in the background, some other kind of warmth that's there that's more in the toasty realm. Toasted bread, brioche style almost, right? Um, apricot, like pie crust. Like think of an apple, well, more of a peach pie or apricot pie. Had that like the crust, like that bottom crust, where it's more doughy, right? Because you've had an influence from the sweeter fruits that have set on top, like that type of crust and pie crust like flavor profile. This is neat. The spices are just unbelievable. You wouldn't expect a wheated style whiskey to be as spicy as this one is, but it's not your rye style peppercorn or pepper, bell pepper. Um, it's definitely more in the baking spice realm. Certainly, the cinnamon is the first one to come to mind. But the breads, the wheat note, how that plays out, the maltiness is fantastic. As I take another nose, certainly the malts start to come forward a little bit more. It's kind of like the moss characteristic, kind of like the hint of forest floor. There's still a freshness about it, so let's not get it too much into like the dirt and the the wet note of forest floor. It's kind of like, maybe fresh leaves. The in fall when you have the leaves falling to the ground. It's kind of that type of maybe arc into flavors that are warmer and outdoorsy, but nothing funky at all. There's no kind of oxidative characteristics in this at all. But certainly a Scotch fan would appreciate some of these aromatics. Nothing peated or anything like that, but certainly the maltiness is gorgeous. Let's take another sip. Hmm. This for me, folks, is such a well done and almost perfect whiskey. Oh my gosh, especially at the price points. Now, shout out to Prestige LaJoy, making sure my buddy Nick at Prestige LaJoy, making sure I have access to all of these whiskeys. Matter of fact, the first two whiskeys we have right here on the shelf, right before I went live, sold two bottles off the shelf just from people coming in. One was a repeat purchaser. One I had never seen before, but he like literally just did a beeline line to this particular bottling, and it's just fantastic, especially at a $40 price point. You really are going to be hard pressed to find a whiskey, in my opinion, that can compete with this. I'm up for the challenge. That's the challenge to everybody. Give me a whiskey that's better than this at a $50 price point. It'd be hard pressed too. The flavors, the apricot, the almost nutty characteristics. We're getting into a little bit of walnut, maybe, and certainly into kind of a walnut pie. Once again, the sweet notes are there, but it's pie crust, pie crust, pie crust. The pie crust at the bottom of the pie, where it's been infused with the sweeter um, fruits or glaze or what have you that the pie is made from. So it's the sweet note of the crust, not really the heavy toasty top layer of crust, right? Let me be very specific about that. If Zoe was here, I mean, he would definitely have more to say about the pie crust. As far as the baker that he is, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. Apricot to peach note, walnut to pie crust to toast to very light fresh oak characteristics and deliciousness, folks. Mm, yeah, Bardstown Bourbon Company, they do their thing with this one, folks. This is a $50 bottle of whiskey, and literally, let's see if I find a whiskey on the tasting table that I find as delicious as this. Let's see if we have that type of night tonight, folks. But for this bottling, like I say, it's been one of my favorites. It's been one of my absolute favorites. Folks, this is a $50 bottle that I give an 8.5 out of 10 right here. So, hey, for those of you who I have spoken to about Bardstown Bourbon Company, this particular bottling, which is their bottle in bond, Origin Series 6-year-old 100 proof wheated recipe that is a 20% wheat, a 12% malted barley, and the remaining 68% corn. You already know how I feel about it. I'm giving it 8.5. It's tasting so unbelievably delicious. Crazy balance. Zero ABV as far as the perceived alcohol on this. There's nothing that's standing out in any type of intense, aggressive way at all. Still one of my favorite whiskeys from Bardstown Bourbon Company, folks. 8.5 out of 10. For 50 bucks, you can't beat it. We have some right here in chats, folks. Go ahead and come on down and grab it. Come on down and grab it soon, because I would hate to see different batches coming in. And I will go ahead and remind you, this is the fall 2017 distillation. It's so good. I don't know if the next batches are going to be that good as we get into the 2018 distilled product. Well, only time will tell whether it's as good as the 2017 distilled product. Oh man, this is starting off really, really well, folks. Starting off really well. Oh my goodness. Let's keep the fun going. That is an 8.5 out of 10. Folks, time for a water rinse. Definitely going to need it tonight. I have 8 whiskeys in front of me. And boy, oh boy, they're getting higher proof as we go along. And proven by this next whiskey. Really excited to introduce this one. A lot of you may not have seen it. It's a newer release from Bardstown Bourbon Company. Folks, introducing the Origin Series heavily wheated 106 proof Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. It is also a 6-year-old. It was distilled in 2018. And for this particular distillation, they decided to go 106 proof, and the mash bill changes. It's a wheated bourbon as well, folks. It's a heavy wheat. We're talking about 39% wheat, 8% malted barley, 53% corn, folks. So they really increased that wheat component quite a bit, from 20 in the last dram that we enjoyed to 39, almost doubled that. But then it's an 8% malted barley as opposed to the 12% malted barley that we had before. So let's go ahead and pour a dram of this. Of course, you saw I went ahead and had my water rinse, got hydrated between the drams, as we do always. Goodness gracious, folks. Let's give this a taste. Now, we just moved from 100 proof to 106 proof, but what a mash bill. Let's see, the mash bill that has such a heavy wheat that comes close to this would be the Lost Whiskey Club, right? Lost Whiskey Club does an NGP, wheated bourbon with a wheat mash bill of 40%, 4% malted barley, 54% corn. So this comes close to that mash bill. This one being 39% wheat. Ooh, in the nose. Creamy and orange. Wow, this is like the orange and cream. This is like an orange and cream ice cream, right? The little ice cream bar. Well, it's not really a bar. It's the ice cream on a stick. It's the orange outer core with the white cream, vanilla cream interior. I don't know if there's some of you who are so young not to know that, but it seems like everybody who's watching the live should know. Shout out to T Woods. What's going on, sir? Come on, man. I had you down here drinking some of this whiskey with me today, man. Hope all is well. But this is, wow, a 39% wheated mash bill, 106 proof, and orange and cream is what I'm getting from the nose on this all day long. Now, of course, there's a little bit of kind of zesty orange spritz, which creates kind of this spritzy, almost floral spice note. So just the most faint hint of maybe a lavender spice. Nothing too crazy at all. I will say there is a little bit of a fresh oak toast as well here. It's starting to come forward. But gosh, once again, this is 106. Really? I wouldn't know from the nose on it. There's zero volatility. Wow. Let's give it a try, folks. Mm, mm. Wow. Wow. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. So much vanilla cream, orange spritz, toasty oak, marzipan, like some of those maybe apple Danish. Like there's an apple Danish tone here as well. Oh boy, that's tasty. And of course, at 106, you have the tingling of the spirit note that stays kind of within the finish and maybe repeats itself in the mid palate, more so lifting the flavors. There's nothing that's aggressive and intense into the finish. Once again, you have to appreciate the legs of this whiskey as it slowly kind of comes together and forms around the glass in a very slow fashion. This is probably a lighter color as well compared to their wheated bottle and bond black label that we just tasted. Seems like a lighter color. Throwing a lot of citrus my way, a lot of higher tone vanillin characteristic. Not quite as warm as the bottle and bond wheated. A little bit more zesty and alive. Also 6 years, folks. Mm, wow. Wow. This go around the finish is just feathers out so beautifully. It really wants to keep forward flavors and all of this sweeter citrus vanillin, lighter kind of toasted characteristic sweet toast flavors, buttery toast flavors that stay more forward in the palate. But I will say it seems to be a little bit more youthful and kind of a larger, even a greater arc of flavor as far as kind of the higher citrus tones on the mid palate than even the bottled in bond version gave you, which was had some lower tones and played maybe a bit more elegantly on the palate. This one wants to steal your attention away a bit more. This could be a lot of fun with cocktails, folks. Wow. An old fashioned with this, with all these orange tones, a little bit of bitters in this bad boy. You want to do a wheated bourbon for your old fashions. This would be definitely one to check out for sure. With traditional bitters, your orange twist, little sweetener. Oh my gosh, it'll be golden. You don't even don't use orange bitters with this. Use your traditional old fashioned bitters. Wow, that's neat. This is difficult, folks. Wow, I'm liking this one quite a bit as well. I have to give it a rating, right? And goodness gracious. Oh, man, I throw out the price point. We have this one in stock as well. 55 bucks, folks. 55 bucks. Mm. Talking about a 106 proof. Wow. I don't know. I'm gonna have to go 8.5 again on this one. I can't say I like it more than the wheated bottle and bond. I think this is an exceptional bourbon here. Um, it is 106 proof, so you do maybe see aromatically and in the mid palate and finish a little bit more of the alcohol. But I think because this wants to be such a lively, high tone bourbon, then that helps to achieve those flavor nuances, that high citrus, that high energy profile. I don't like it as much, but I like it. I don't like it more than, but I probably like it as much as the bottle and bond. 8.5, folks. Hey, T Woods, Zoe, Matty Ice, come on. You all are definitely uh, missing a good one here, but maybe we can recreate this at some point very soon. Shout out to Big Eric. Shout out to Travis. Shout out to Lenny. Shout out to gosh, Clay, T Bone, Dre, Josh, the whole crew. Hey, we're gonna want to repeat this lineup one day. I'll see if I can make it happen. But for now, Origin Series 106, heavily wheated, folks. 8% malted barley, 39% wheat, 68%. Am I right on that? I can't be right on that. No, 53. I'm so sorry. 53% corn. Another 8.5 out of 10. And both of these are right at about $50. It's amazing. It's amazing. What a lineup. It shouldn't get better from here. It shouldn't. Those two whiskeys. Hey folks, let me put a little spotlight on those highest rated whiskeys. Let's put a spotlight on those really quickly. Let's see which one. Nope, not that camera. Sorry, folks. Let's put a spotlight on those. Yeah, yes, indeed. Those two right there. Oh my gosh, you cannot go wrong. The Origin Series 6 year, the Wheated recipe. This is the 2017 release. This is the 2018 release. And that might just be what it is, folks. Might be just what it is. It might be that as we move on to the Origin Series 2018 distillate, I should have said distillate, not release. This was distilled 2017. This is distilled 2018. They may have just gone to the cream label and the 106 for that 2018 distillate, which was released, I'll call it 2025, while the bottle and bond 100 proof lower wheat high malt recipe was distilled in 2017 and a 2024 release. Hey, we might come to the end of stock for that black label bottle and bond 100 proof. If so, you better go ahead and pick it up while you can. For sure. We have some here at Chats, but wherever you are in the world, go ahead and pick some of that up. I love it. 8.5 for both of those wheated bourbons. Love it, love it, love it. The next whiskey up on the docket is going to be that one right there, folks. And I'll talk about it in a moment. After. That is after I have had my hydration. Of course, folks, it always got to hydrate yourself with a little vino between the drams. Let's do it. Vino or agua. Yo, I'm struggle streaming. It's been let's cut. Whoever's doing the editing when this posts, go ahead and cut that out. I'm talking about Vino. Absolutely. Let's go ahead and pour it up, folks. Let's pour it up. That's it right here. The green label. Have you all seen the green label yet? Have you all been a witness and or tried the green label to this point? Hey, it is their rye whiskey. This is a Kentucky straight rye whiskey finished in toasted cherry wood and oak barrels, 96 proof. So they're kind of taking a cue from right here in kind of the mid-Atlantic, especially Virginia, where a lot of those whiskeys out of Virginia are finished in cherry wood. Shout out Copper Fox. Shout out Belmont Farms, Copper Kettle, and others. But this is a 95.5 mash bill, folks. This was distilled spring 2018. It is a 6-year-old as well. Classic 95.5 mash bill. But they're getting some real nuance, doing it kind of like we do it right here in the mid-Atlantic with the cherry wood. With the cherry wood. Oh, let me change this banner, everybody. My apologies. Yeah, so it's all about the Bardstown Bourbon Company Origin Series, 6-year-old, 95% rye, 5% malted barley, Kentucky straight rye whiskey finished in toasted cherry wood and oak barrels, 96 proof. All right, good color on that. Once again, the legs of this, absolutely beautiful. Slow rolling on these legs, just like the previous whiskeys. Let's give it a nose. Ooh, wow. Wow, a lot of the cherry, a lot of the red cherry tone comes forth in this production. 96 proof, folks. No volatility of alcohol. Once again, just beautiful distilling quality, slow running legs here. Totally digging what Bardstown Bourbon Company is producing. Just in the Origin Series lineup, folks. And everything is right around that $50 mark with the Origin Series. You can't question the quality of distillate that they're producing for such fair price points. I mean, it's almost to a point where, the entire Origin Series is a flight for your daily enjoyment, showing off to your friends and all. Like you can spend $200 here and it's a full experience. Literally, with these 4 whiskeys, a full experience. Aromatics. The spices are here, the peppers are here. You almost get a little deeper of a kind of almost raisin tone. The rancio, the raisinated characteristics, sweet, sweet raisin, green raisin maybe comes forth here. Sweet oak. Uh, some peppercorn note as well. Maybe a little bit of ginger. That's pretty and also clean, right? Super, super clean. All right, let's give it a taste. Mm. Mm-hmm. Wow. Wow. Full and fleshy on the palate. It really does coat the palate quite nicely. Was expecting a little bit more of the cherry notes and some of these fruits, even raisinated notes that I got in the aromatics. But the first sip, it was like sweeter caramel notes, sweet caramel, um, a little bit of spice, but mostly sweet caramel on the first gram. Let's go ahead and try again. I'm seeing that the nose has maybe become a little less sweet while you while you still have some sweeter tones. You maybe get a little bit of grassiness, but it's still very fresh stylistically. Also seems like there's some kind of malt notes there and extraction oils that kind of create a light perfumed characteristic. Mm, okay. Wow. Okay. So warmer flavors, hints of cinnamon, a little bit of maybe a little bit of yeah, it's more so in the caramel realm. I was gonna say there might be a little bit of dark chocolate in the background. Not much, but a little hint of dark chocolate, but the caramels really do push forward. The spices stay in the cinnamon realm, a little bit of pepper note, maybe a bit of toasted characteristic, um, little maybe of a burnt, kind of toasted wood note, like the toasted oak characteristic is here, but it's not super dry at all. That's part of the kind of caramelized characteristic of the whiskey. Nothing totally green, but definitely a light spice, a light cinnamon spice, a light even basil, maybe a little of a kind of fireball like note. What's that spice? What's that fireball like spice? Is that a yeah, it's cinnamon, right? It's cinnamon. Am I thinking jalapeno maybe? Thank you, Anna. Shout out to Anna throwing the assist up. Come on, man. I love it, Anna. Thank you. As Anna departs chats now, she helps a brother out with an assist. Oh boy. Yeah, there's a cinnamon fireball, but that sweet fireball like note, especially as it aerates a little bit, but simple and clean. But good night, Anna. Simple and clean, but with some nice maltiness. There's nothing aggressive here. So I would say it would probably provide a nice base for cocktail and or a sipping experience for someone who, although this is a 95.5 mash bill, it doesn't come across as the most grassy, the most Perazine forward, green pepper style of rye. There's a lot of creaminess and extraction of the barrel and maybe of the oils for this particular distillate. Yeah, it's smooth, very smooth, and quite tasty. Uh, I think I'm gonna have to. Gosh, I think I'm gonna be in a. Huh. I would put it into that category of maybe crossover rye. I don't know if rye heads, those folks that want the intensity of the grain profile to really come forward, I don't know if they're going to love this rye. It's a bit more creamy, a little bit sweeter, a bit more extracted. It's almost someone who is a bit more of a bourbon fan, rye, or someone who's maybe a Canadian whiskey fan. It's something that can get them into rye. But with the cherry wood aging and or finishing, I think that's neat. It does add a little bit more of a sweetness, a fruit sweetness for the extraction, but after the aromatics, it really doesn't show up as intensely as I would have thought. Maybe as a cherry profile in the flavor, but maybe just adds to a slightly sweeter nuance on the palate. That is a rye whiskey that make your Manhattans with that one, right? I think aromatically, it's charming in that sense. Still a dry enough profile with the a dry for it being a rye. No, let me reword that. It's sweet enough of to kind of be as sweet as a bourbon is, but it's a rye profile, so you don't get that one-dimensional sweet corn profile. So that's neat. It will really create a base where your vermouth and your bitters, I think, can really shine and take over the whiskey, but it won't add kind of extra complications of corn profile to the flavor of your Manhattan. So that could be fun. Yeah, folks, I'm giving that an 8. I think that's an 8 out of 10 rye. And just based off of such a beautiful flavor, flavor wise, I would want a little bit more, but distillation and finishing wise, I think it's unbelievably balanced. Unbelievably balanced for a rye whiskey. It's also a crossover product that can get a lot more bourbon drinker drinking rye whiskey. So it's fun. I'll give that an 8 just off of the quality of distillation alone, folks. I could be at 7.75, but we'll go 8 because I think there's so much quality coming off these stills. Let's keep it going, folks. Let's keep it going. Little water rinse. Of course, between every dram, we got to have some hydration. Rinse that glass a little bit. Also, it's cold water, so it allows us to cool the glass down. Ooh. Excuse me, folks. We don't want to break that one. Let me go ahead and walk around. Got some bloopers in there for you, folks. That's going to go on the bloopers reel right there. Goodness gracious. Okay, we need to bring back the live and make sure that we didn't get any disconnects. Let's go. All right, let's take a couple seconds off, folks, just to get these cameras back in order. All right, nice. Let's go Cam Link. Let's see if we can bring Cam Link back into play. All right, folks. While that cam link figures itself out, or doesn't figure itself out, let's go. Let's go with another option here, folks. Let's go with another option. All right, let's see. Let's see this camera come in and take over for the live stream. Hey, everybody, sorry about that. I told you we're struggle streaming right down to the nitty gritty of the show. Apologies about that. All right, hopefully you can see us. Okay. Very good, very good. Don't like the way that is leaning though. Let's straighten her out a little bit. Okay, folks. Let's see if we can continue the fun. We'll check on that other camera in a little bit, but in the meantime and in between time, let's keep the party going. All right. So, getting back to the water rinse, we are doing the water rinse right about now and getting ready for the next dram. And, you know, that was a perfect time for a little intermission because, gosh, we had 4 amazing whiskeys. They were so classic, iconic, and amazing. Certainly amongst some of the absolute most dynamic whiskeys, especially at around a $50 price point. Just amazing. Just amazing. Would you agree? If you haven't had those whiskeys in the past, certainly seek them out. It's totally, totally worth the investment. Okay, well, let's get the other camera view and we're just going to roll with that, okay? Sorry about the that other one there. Boom. Yeah, that's the lineup. Let's bring it back out. Water rinse. Okay. Ah, it's always a good time happening in chats, even through the bloopers and yeah, the mishaps. We're gonna keep the party going though, folks. I knew it was gonna be a long one, but we are past the midpoint and we're heading into the second sphere of tonight's tasting of Bardstown Bourbon Company. Their whiskeys, absolutely beautiful. And now we have on the table the second half. What is the second half, you ask? Hey, it's a combination of their collaborative series bourbons, folks. Or should I say the collaborative series whiskeys. Now, these whiskeys, unlike the Origin series, don't represent Bardstown Bourbon Company, their actual distillate. So they have purchased whiskeys, and of course, aged whiskeys, and blend them, right? They blend them and finish them in unique ways. And they are super detail oriented on the side labels. of their collaborative series. And of course, they will also co-brand their collaborative series. So you'll see just beneath the Bardstown Bourbon Company logo and so forth, you'll see this is a Goose Island Barrel House collaboration. So it's Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey finished in Goose Island Bourbon County brand stout barrels. So the Bourbon County stouts there, everybody is super excited about every year. Well, it's a combination of 50% of the blend is 7-year-old Kentucky whiskey, a rye style bourbon mash bill, 26% rye in the mash bill, 21% malted barley, 53% corn. 26% of this particular blend is a 6-year Kentucky mash bill with 26% rye, 21% malted barley, 53% corn. So those two mash bills that I just mentioned are the same. And then 18% of a Kentucky 9-year-old bourbon that has 13% rye, 9% malted barley, 78% corn. That's a lot to say, folks. But I hope you get it all. That's what we're drinking now. And of course, as mentioned before, in their collaborative series, there is a finishing process. And this go round for this particular bottling, they finished in Goose Island barrels, specifically their Bourbon County stout barrels, right? So let's give it a try. Wow. Okay. So definitely some kind of malty chocolate notes. If you've ever had a chocolate malt whiskey, whiskeys that have a chocolate malt in the yeast, then it reminds you of this for sure. There's a chocolate malt undertone. Mm. I will say that it kind of has maybe a little bit of a green tone from the rye, right? We're talking about grasses, spices. I'm trying to pinpoint it. It maybe has even a little bit of a I'll dare to say a little bit of a hop like note, like a little bit of a dry hop. That's kind of within the green realm, right? And sometimes it will skew into a little bit of a grapefruit like note. Now, I won't say I'm totally getting the grapefruit here, but there's a little bit of a hop note. Wow. All right. Let's give it a sip. Hmm. Mm. Wow. Gosh, those flavors are very interesting. There's kind of this undertone of malt and once again cacao, some maybe some corn, some what they call the heirloom corn like notes, not as much of like the white corn forwardness. It's kind of like a little bit of a dusty corn undertone. red corn, right? Wow, cask wise, there's a smoothness and a roundness to this whiskey that's that has a freshness and almost a quick kind of snappy finish to it. Um, it almost has like a fresh acidity or something on the palate that seems to clean it up, especially in the mid to the forward palate quite a bit. That's interesting. Now, I will say that I have tasted this once before upon a fresh crack. It was just open and I didn't get these nuances. So if you do get one of these Goose Island collaborative series bottlings, then you may need to allow it to open up just a little bit. Wow. Mm. I can't get away from all the chocolate malt that's going away, but then into the finish, just a really almost mouth smacking, like clean profile. And we're talking about something that is 100 proof. So this particular bottling, and they say it's cask strength at 100 proof, is really dialed in pretty seamlessly at 100 proof, which is already for Bardstown Bourbon Company, not a high proof at all. But of course, this is purchased whiskey that was finished and bottled by Bardstown Bourbon Company. They did not necessarily distill the whiskey that's inside this bottle. So you do see a shift. It maybe is a little bit lighter on the palate, not quite as voluptuous and unctuous on the palate as the Origin Series um, whiskeys were, which was which were the four that we started with. But there's certainly an interesting combination of flavors here, a very interesting finishing process that takes these 8 and 9 year old bourbons, right? I'm so sorry, 7 and 9 year old bourbons, and really delivers it in a uniquely artisan fashion, finishing these in the Goose Island Bourbon County Stout casks. That's more fun than I actually anticipated it to be. Wow. Now, with this series, we are kind of in the flagship realm as far as price point goes for the releases of Bardstown Bourbon Company. So we are over 150 to $250 per bottle, depending on where you buy it, right? You might see the majority at about that $200 mark for Bardstown Bourbon Company, their collaborative series. This is a fun expression, though, I will say. I will say this is a very fun expression. I'm going to go ahead and rate this one. Let's see. Let's see. Once again, I ended up liking it a little bit more than I anticipated. Um, for someone who wants the ease of drinkability, if you're a fan of Bourbon County Stout and how rich and kind of chocolatey and rich cacao stout um, those can be, then you might like this one. But it really delivers in a fresh and easy drinking fashion. I don't know how they did that. I really don't know how they did that, but they accomplished it. And I'm gonna give that one an 8.25 out of 10, folks. I like that quite a bit, much more than I did before. Wow. As we move around into the spring season, I think that could be one that's super fun to drink. Um, it's only 100 proof. And so you can drink that well into the warmer months and I think be quite satisfied with the delivery of flavor and the balance that it offers up. All right, folks, I tell you, we're going to keep it moving. We are going to keep it moving And the first four were so fantastic. Let's get those out of the frame a little bit. We'll line those up over there. And we'll come henceforth with this selection. And the next product from Bardstown Bourbon Company will be probably the one that gets most of the attention right now, and that is the Silver Oak Collaborative Series production. The Silver Oak, folks. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. That is the famous Silver Oak winery of California that this one is finished in. And of course, Silver Oak has property in Napa Valley and Sonoma County. And so I would assume that do they say whether it's their Napa side or their Sonoma side? I would assume it's their Napa side. But, don't quote me if you know better. Beforehand, though, and I almost forgot, I got to do the water rinse. Let's get some hydration in there. All right. Nice, nice, nice. Let me just shout out to Pico Philly. Really enjoying the Discovery Series number 8. Yeah, great whiskey. Those Discovery Series are fun whiskeys. We're going to finish with Discovery number 10. Looking forward to that for certain. But we are next going to move into the Collaborative Series Silver Oak Cask Finish. So that is a Cabernet Sauvignon cask finishing from out in the great state of California is where these barrels are sourced. And once again, I don't know if this is the Napa or the Sonoma side of the Silver Oak properties. I would assume the Napa. We're at 108 proof for this bottling, folks. It is Silver Oak Cabernet Sauvignon cask finished. Looking forward to it. Totally looking forward to it. We've hydrated and rinsed out our glass. Let's give it a go. Now, let me give a little bit of detail to the Silver Oak. This is the only bottle on this table that does not give the actual components of bourbons and other whiskeys that make up this bottling. Let's see if I can get more information just off the paragraph that it shows. For over 50 years, Silver Oak has created exclusive California Cabernets aged exclusively in American oak barrels. A custom blend of bourbon was aged in Silver Oak barrels for 17 months, creating a beautiful balance of ripe fruit, caramel, and roasted nuts. Never stand still. Okay, they have a little scan QD code to find out more information. They certainly do have that. Let's see something here because I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued about this. Let's go to Collaborative Series. Let's check out their website. And let's see if there's any information I can get on the Collaborative. Discovery Collaborative. Okay, that's the Amaroots. All right, I need more than the Amaroots. Want to give me some more? Okay, Farm Brewery, Silver Oak. All right, nice. So we're talking about a custom blend of 9 to 14-year-old bourbon. And as I mentioned before, finished for 17 months in Silver Oak casks. Wow. 6 different whiskeys, folks, blended for this particular bottling. So that's why they didn't list it and they put a QR code there, because there are 6 different whiskeys that are blended here. And there's not enough room on this side label to list them all. There you go. So 25% of it is a Kentucky 14-year-old rye and malt style bourbon, about equal parts of rye and malt. 23% of a rye and malted barley style bourbon from Tennessee, 12-year-old. 22% of a Kentucky 10-year-old. 15% of an Indiana 9-year-old. 10% of a Kentucky 10-year-old. And 5% of a Georgian 12-year-old. I'm just going to run back down that. 25% of a Kentucky 14-year-old. 23% of a Tennessee 12-year-old. 22% of a Kentucky 10-year-old. 15% of an Indiana 9-year-old. 10% of a Kentucky 10-year-old. 5% of a Georgian 12-year-old. Wow. All of those, with the exception of the Georgian bourbon, are high rise. The Georgian bourbon is a 4 grain. Wow. Nice. And it's finished for 17 months in silver oak cask. Cheers. Wow. Aromatics is to say gorgeous, it would be an understatement. There's spices. There's black fruit. There's black currant. There's oak. There's toast. There seems to be kind of like this. Yeah, I'm going to bring it back to toastiness. I was also getting kind of a mineral like note. Mineral. Like, I don't know. That's weird. That's weird. Almost a mineral like note. Puts me in mind of like an iron. Okay, and we're talking about an ABV of 108. Once again, not showing any intensity of oak, no exaggerated proof at all on that. Dark cacao. Once again, a little bit of like ripe, ripe blackberry. Hint of a hint of anise, and that's kind of a little bit of the spirit note, maybe. That a little bit of aniseed. Let's give it a taste. Wow. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm. Wow. Super full in the mid palate, especially compared to the one that we just did, the Goose Island. Mid palate is rich, viscosity is high. It's abundance of dried fruit, cinnamon, caramel, almost like dates or some type of nuttiness. Wow. The oak shows up in like a very dark fashion. So not like your high tone oak, but maybe that whiskey saturated oak, in this case, wine saturated oak, right? Is there. It even offers a little bit of a dry note, kind of as you progress through the finish, or almost tannin like characteristic. Mm. I might even say, of course, I said blackberry, almost like blackberry fig, blackberry jam note, but it's not overly sweet though. Mm. It's so savory across the mid palate. There's a savory characteristic, but then a forwardness of this fruit profile that's charming and pretty welcoming. Mm. Had 2 drams. I'm gonna need a little bit more of that. Just enough to get me one more dram of that bad boy. Hey, cheers, Ralph. Absolutely. Shout out to Ralph. This is Zoe. Goodness. Hmm. Mm. Yeah. This particular expression in the finish, it can repeat like these fruit notes, like a little bit of the black berry and almost like a tea like essence that separates itself from like the heart of the whiskey initially. There's this kind of secondary flavor that brings you back up to like the mid palate and higher tier in the mid palate. It's almost like this black tea essence for me, with maybe like a little bit of a fruit note, raspberry or blackberry or something like that. Acid levels. I mentioned this one had an acid level that forced everything kind of back to the palate, but maybe it was a little bit cleaner. This one has it, but the flavors are kind of maybe jumping into the finish. If you savor it like into the third sip, you start to get a little bit of that. That's interesting. That's interesting to me. The first sip was like so different because you really didn't see that as much. There was a little bit more warmth and depth into the finish. Or almost the second and a half to the third sip, I started seeing these other tones kind of play a little bit more forward in a slightly more kind of disjointed way on the finish. Yeah, and I am seeing that a little bit more, kind of. And I don't know if I love it. I don't know if I love that part of it. Hmm. Higher acid levels, um, some nuances that almost disturb some of those warmer characteristics in the background, and you miss some of those chocolates, you miss some of the nuts and so nutty characteristics and so forth, Pauls, and everything comes back forth. So I don't know. I don't know. I mean, been hearing a lot of people like rave about this one, and I think it's fun. I think it's a fun expression. Super good. It has some older whiskey in there, which can, once you get into those 13, 14-year products, you can start to see some of the leather, some of those tertiary characteristics coming forth. You lose maybe a little bit of the mid, kind of those youthful flavors that keep the mid palate alive. Mm, this is intriguing, folks. This one is intriguing. It almost has me stumped. It almost has me stumped because it's weirding me out just a little bit. Sweet and mild, just a little bit into the finish. Aromatically, especially at 108, is charming, super charming. Let's try another go. Yeah. Into the Once you swallow, flavor wise, it almost is like that whiskey doesn't kind of continue into the finish with as much depth and kind of building into the flavors of the finish. It almost kind of stalls on the finish and brings all of your attention back mid palate, showing you this abundance of like black fruit, tea like characteristics, an array maybe of some botanicals. It's almost like, you can drink this on ice and it's your Manhattan done, right? Some of these red fruits, for me, it's black fruit initially, but I can imagine putting an ice cube in this and it'll increase the kind of intensity of the red fruit note. It'll change those black fruits into red fruit. You almost have a pre-made Manhattan. Wow, it goes fruity in the mid palate. While I'm expecting little bit more in the finish. So this one is interesting. It's very interesting. It's probably not what I expected either, right? So these finishes are crazy fun and different, right? I think just on that principle, I don't know. A lot of you might come back at me like, Bernie, are you crazy? Like that was super interesting and super good. I think it's good as well. I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. And for me, that's like, next level. Is it what I expected? It's not exactly as high as I expected to rate something that has a silver oak name on it and a Bardstown Bourbon Company name on it. Those are such heavy hitters that maybe I feel, like it's an 8 out of 10. I was expecting maybe an 8.75 or something like that, a little bit higher, one of the higher of the tasting. That's crazy right now. That's crazy right now that I gave it an 8 out of 10. But that's what it is for me, folks. We're gonna move on. Haters, come on out the woodworks. Come on out of the woodworks, haters. Because there will be a lot of people who hate that I just gave it like an 8 out of 10 and rated a couple others over 8 points on this night. Well, we do have that one in stock right now. And I think it's fun. It's a little bit sweeter. I think someone who likes kind of that sweeter style, that elegant style, that plush style. If you are a fan of Angel's Envy rye, you'll love this. I will put it in that dessert wine spectrum. If you're a fan of Hill Rock, we were just drinking some of their Sauterne cast finish rye whiskey. You'll like this. I'm trying to think of some others. The new whiskey blends that my buddy Whiskier was just texting to me. I believe were we texting one of those? I believe so, or maybe we were going back and forth over Instagram. Um, no, here we go. The Bacta. if I'm pronouncing that correctly. The Bacta items, which are blends of rye whiskey with Calvados and Armagnac and so forth, finished in these unique ways. I think you'll like something like this. It's different, it's unique, slightly sweeter profile, and it kind of pushes the fruit to the forefront in the finish. Fun stuff. That was the Collaborative Series Silver Oak Cast Finish, 108 proof by Bardstown Bourbon Company. We're going to move on, folks. Let's go. Roots. I'll do a little water rinse, rehydrate ourselves. This is the Bardstown Bourbon Company Collaborative Series Roots 110 proof bourbon. And, well, it's not, yeah. We can still call it a bourbon, right? 5 mash bills. I'm going to go ahead and pour it up. Then I'm going to give information about the mash bill. And everybody can go to the website, of course, bardstownbourbon.com. You can go and check out all these whiskeys. But it's 43% 9-year-old bourbon from Indiana. Very high rye bourbon, but a bourbon from Indiana. It's 20% an 8-year-old rye mash bill from Indiana, a 95.5. 17% 14-year-old Kentucky bourbon whiskey, about equal components of rye and malted barley in that bourbon. 15% of a 10-year-old Kentucky bourbon, about equal components of rye and malted barley in that one too. 5% of an 11-year-old Kentucky bourbon, once again, about equal components of rye and malted barley in that one. But it was finished in the Indian whiskey, single malt whiskey barrels from the Amrut distillery of India, folks. Big shout out to Amrut of India. They make some damn good whiskeys. Shout out to them. 110 is the proof point, folks. 110 proof. Let's go. Let's give it a little swirl. Whoa. Okay. Okay. Wow. There is a very rich, sweet bourbon slash almost exotic profile on this whiskey. Lots of fruit, folks. Lots of fruit. I'm thinking caramel and toast, of course. But secondarily, maybe mango, maybe cherry, maybe pineapple. The what do you call it? Fruit cocktail. Look back, I have a long experience with the canned fruit cocktail dole, right? With the cherry, the pineapple, the peach, pear, all of those nuances. It's like a fruit cocktail right here in your glass with a dash of cinnamon and some ABV in that bad boy, and some vanillin from some toasty charred American oak, folks. That's what this is. Wow. A brilliant and very approachable aromatics this has to it. Nice legs on this bad boy. We're talking about whiskeys ranging from 8 to 14 years from Indiana, Kentucky, Indiana and Kentucky. Yeah. Let's give it a taste. Hmm. Mm. Whoa. 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 I either poured myself way too little or I took too much of a initial sip from that. Wow. The first thing that caught me off guard in the taste, mid palate into the finish, is the smokiness. This is peated. This is smoky, folks. It's not as smoky and intentional as like an Isla single malt. It's more like a Campbellton, maybe a Campbellton single malt that gives you the maltiness, the richness, and the peat is there, but maybe into the finishing, into the mid palate to finish, more so in the aromatics and really taking over in such a forward position earlier on. But wow, it's malty, it's slightly exotic. It gives you kind of some of these tropical notes with the wood formation, just quite open, quite cinnamon, quite a bit of cinnamon in the wood. The vanillin, the spices, the open spices, maybe a little bit of a salinity to it. I'm like a sea mist, ocean spray like characteristic. Some red fruit there too. Once again, I mentioned early on the cherry. And now, if I don't say if I don't already sound crazy, some ocean spray cranberry, literally, right? That's crazy, right? But these are associations. It's kind of this salinity and kind of red fruit on the exotic side of the thing, but some salty red fruit, cranberry, cherry, forwardness, toasty oak. Interesting. Mm, wow. Folks, we are at 110 proof right here. Tons of flavor. It's almost like the other two, where into the finish, there's a there's a mid palate that captures your attention again. Like as you finish it, like your flavor receptors push you back forward into the mid palate. But instance, you have both dynamics. You still have the finishing processes that are giving you kind of these warmer tones with these kind of exotic fruit like notes, spices, florals, kind of across around the top edges of your palate are bringing these flavors back forward. Crazy interesting, but wow, the most dynamic. Mm, wow. It's dynamic. It's there's so much going on here that you would almost kind of be overwhelmed to an extent of like, okay, where is this whiskey trying to take me? I thought it was like a little more simple, but no, there's a lot of things firing off. Um, that could be fantastic because it's holding your attention. Literally, I swallowed 30 seconds ago. Pause, and it's still like intriguing, right? There's still so much happening. We're drinking this at room temp, just in a lightly, you know, cool water rinse glass. If you're somebody who drinks on rocks, then yeah, these collaborative series you can really have a lot of fun with across the board. Even the 100 proof, um, Goose Island expression, the collaborative series Silver Oak that throws out so much red fruit. There's almost like a Manhattan made for you, to this exotic Amrut, which has some peat smoke incorporated into this particular bourbon. Lots of fun. I will say the one that keeps you most engaged palate wise. Mm, of probably anything on on the table, and you have to appreciate it for that. Once again, I don't know if I just poured myself too little or if I took too much of a dram like along the way, but I need just a little bit more of that. Wow. 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 Don't be mad. M Dog, don't be mad. Big Zoe, don't be mad. I switched it up. 8.75 to 9, folks. I'm going 8.75 to 9 on that one. I love the journey that this particular Bardstown Bourbon Company Amrut cask finish gives me. It's a journey. 8.75 to 9 out of 10 points because it's unbelievably complex. It has nuances that really excuse me, show up from the Abrut cask that's still within the whiskey realm. It doesn't throw you off into any particular tangent that becomes like out of the sphere of complexity, and it's conjoined, right? It's not a disjointed expression where there's some separation. No, it's conjoined. It just literally like rocks. It walks a path on your palate. You're on a journey. It reroutes and brings you back to the town that you didn't really look at well enough, and says, "Okay, then let's take a scenic route around back to where you were." Is that type of expression of whiskey. Um, that's why I give it a 9. I give it 8.75 just because you don't get that from the first sip. You end up in a place where you start with the first sip and there's just harmony. You're on an island somewhere, right? And there's harmony. But then, you take a boat ride and the waves are a little choppy, but you still like see the island right there, but this journey is not all smooth. You end up in a place where, there's attention that's needed, and there's a little bit of a of a rocky road that you're going to go on to really maybe ending up in hopefully what is an all around exceptional experience. So it's an 8.75 because of that rocky road, but hopefully, inevitably, you've had an amazing experience, which brings you back to the 9. Bardstown Bourbon Company, their collaborative series, Amrut Cask Finish, 110 proof. Wow. 8.75 to 9. 9 to 8.75, back to 9. That's how we're doing that. Beautiful. Let's go. Folks, the finale. It's been quite the journey. I was thinking could go from 7 p.m. to 8:30, and it's already 9:03 p.m. So bear with me another few minutes as I enjoy the final whiskey of the evening, folks. And that final whiskey of the evening is the Discovery Series number 10. Big, 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 big shout out to Pico Philly, who has been enjoying the Discovery Series number 8 quite a bit. Well, folks, this is Discovery Series number 10. There were a lot of folks chasing Discovery Series number 12 around, but we got a little throwback. And we might even have some access to this, folks, here in the marketplace. Maybe. So if anybody is interested in Discovery number 10, definitely give me a shout out, because there might still be some of series number 10 at Prestige Joint right here in the DMV. So give me a shout out. Might be able to get you some of this stuff. But Discovery number 10, let's go down the list of bourbons that were Blended to create this, of course, little hydration break. We have 62% of this blend being a 9-year-old Kentucky bourbon, about equal parts of rye and malted barley, and 18% of this as a Kentucky 13-year-old bourbon, about equal parts of rye and barley. 10% of a Georgian 4-grain bourbon mash bill. 8% of a Kentucky 6-year-old bourbon, about equal parts of rye and malted barley, but we're talking about 26% rye, 21% malted barley. Wow. And then 2% of a Tennessee 10-year-old bourbon, exactly equal parts of 8% rye, 8% malted barley. That's the blend, folks, of Discovery number 10. Wow. So mostly 10 to 13-year-old, well, no, 62% of a 9-year-old, 8% of a 6-year-old. The remainder is 10 to 13% off percent bourbon. Fun stuff. Let's keep the party going. This is the highest proof of all the whiskeys that we're tasting tonight from Bardstown Bourbon Company. It is proofed at 114. Wow. The sweet corn marzipan, corn pudding, white corn, almost corn on the cob, dipped in rocket fuel. No, dipped in booze butter, right? Corn on the cob, dipped in booze butter. That's then toasted on a charcoal grill. You've heard that one first here, folks. Don't try to use that. Do not try to use that. And if you do, you better give your sources there. You better give the creator of that one. It's corn for it. It's corn and butter dipped in booze, charbroil grill. Wow. Nice. Give it a sip. Mm. Wow. Okay, for this one, it's chewy. It's chewy, but it's also boozy. Mind you, I've had some 110 productions, 108 production, and 100 production I had tasted just before this. But all of those were secondary cask finishes. This one gets no secondary cask finish. So that first sip, my palate had to definitely adjust back to a product that wasn't softened by some type of wine cask, beer cask, or other spirit cask, right? But I got a lot of sweet corn flavors. I got a lot of toasted flavors. And I got a lot of length on the palate as far as the whiskey itself. Wow, coming back, I almost get like more of the toast, more of the charcoal barrel note. It's almost like when you pop popcorn and you get a few of those seared like popcorn kernels in the bag or in your pan. I get a little bit of that second go round. It's not all pudding. It's not. And I'm still going to sit down and enjoy. Right? It's nothing that we should be afraid about. Nothing off putting. Still, the proof point shows forward. The sweet corn and the popcorn like note with butter show forward. Vanillin, almost a little bit of a saltiness to this as well. So maybe those are the aged whiskeys that are in here that are kind of showing a little bit more of a savory like note, almost a cured like note. Mm. Hmm. Yes, indeed. So they blend this quite well. I'll say that there are components of mature whiskeys in here. I'm getting the leathers, getting a little bit of the tobacco leaf behind some of the oak, some of the kind of tannic structure of the oak and or leather, getting a little bit of pine like note, sweet corn with the pine leaves kind of behind it. Yeah, quite the array of flavor. It does kind of maybe come forward in a bit more of an aggressive way with the ABV kind of pushing those flavors, especially having whiskeys that have already been secondarily cask finished. This one doesn't have the cask finish, folks. So that's the differentiation between this one and the others that we have tasted. Mm, wow. Okay. There it is, folks. Mm, that wasn't quite it, folks. That wasn't quite it. Come on, save. Oops. Nope, back. I have to save that bad boy. I'm sorry, folks. Okay, let's show that off. All right, there it is. Bardstown Bourbon Company, Discovery Series number 10 bourbon, 114 proof. You got a 7.5, folks. 7.5. It's a solid bourbon. Um, let's just do a little reconnaissance here. Bardstown Bourbon. This is Series 10, right? Series 10. I don't know if there may be some of this that's available now. Don't quote me on it. I don't know if there's any more of this available or not. But this was, and I'm just doing some, yeah, some over 21. I'm just doing a little bit of reconnaissance on this one, right, to see where it landed and all. And come on, Drink Hacker, come through for me. Where's Drink Hacker? I want a Drink Hacker. Shout out to Drew Beard. Shout out to Chris. Shout out to everybody at Drink Hacker. Come on. Let's go. But I don't know if you can even find the Series 10 much anymore. It's possible that it's still around. And like I say, my buddies at Prestige Joint might have a little bit more of this. So if you're looking to collect these and um, you're looking to collect these bad boys in all the various series numbers that are available, Series 10 may or may not still be available. I want to say that it may be because my buddy's still traveling around with Series 10 in his portfolio in his car. He dropped this one off to me, but it may not be. It may not be. But anyway, going back to my rating, yeah, 7.75. I think it's what Bardstown Bourbon Company has done well with their Discovery Series in blending to the point where if you find this at about that $70-$80 price point, which I think the Discovery Series usually kind of um, held at, it's a fun, mature tasting bourbon. I say mature tasting bourbon in the sense that you get some of those drier nuances that are many times right there between the 10 to 10, 12 year range. That's what this tastes like. That 10 to 12 year range, which showing you those teenage years where it's like not the kind of very youthful flavors, but then also is not totally the mature flavors. And when you do a blend at cask strength, the fun maybe here is you may need to add a little bit of water because without the water, you have a bit more of a forward ABV, especially done at cask strength of 114 proof that will take over the palate. And so that's exactly what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to add 3 drops of water to that bad boy. We'll go again. The cinnamons, the spices, the oak, the rhubarb, the leather, the kind of nut, the maybe the husk, the shell of the nuts, the oak, the tannic is here. Let's see about the taste after adding 3 drops of water. Hmm. Oh yeah, for sure. With this one, they give it to you in full spectrum. Is full spectrum the ideal proof point? In this case, 114 to enjoy this whiskey yet? Maybe not. I would argue no. Play around with water, diluting this. The benefit is they give you a full bottle that you'll pay about maybe 80 bucks for, right? Give you the full bottle, but you can stretch that into a full liter. You might be able to get 33% more of this potential whiskey out of this bottle if you use a little bit of water and dilute it. What you'll find is better balance, more of these mature flavors coming forth in a way that give you more of a harmonious, balanced sipping experience, but still leaning into the mature flavors of this whiskey. I think it's better received. I don't know if I'm going to change my rating much. I'm at 7.5 here. It might go to a 7.75 for some of you. But now I will say that the balance is there. Ooh, the spices on that one. Yeah, it's 7.5, maybe to 7.75 for my rating. Let me go ahead and do that now so that it's literally official. Ooh, what happened? There we go. Now it's more official. I give this a 7.5 to 7.75 out of 10. 7.5 for sure, 7.75 with a little bit of a water correction that dilutes it a little bit. It allows those mature flavors to come forth without the ABV like really getting in the way and adding the intensities of flavor and that nuance in the finish. Soften it a little bit to get the mature flavors in a natural way. And we're at 7.75, which is a daggone good rating. Folks, we're at the end of this beautiful solo Whiskey Wednesday, February 5th, 2025 of Bardstown Bourbon Company. I have to shout out Prestige LeDroit. They are one of the fantastic wine and spirits distributors here in the DMV. And shout out my guy, Nick. Nick, you came through, man. I appreciate you doing this. The selection of Bardstown Bourbon Company whiskeys, which we have in stock. The Origin 96 proof, the Origin bottle and bond wheated, the Origin 6-year 106 proof, the Silver Oak 108 proof cask, Silver Oak Cabernet cask finish in stock. So pick them up here at Chats or wherever you are. But we appreciate you if you pick them up here at Chats. This has been such a phenomenal time. I think my bro Zoe, who would have originally been here with me in house, is literally on his way over here to Chats. Maybe to taste a couple of these productions. I hope. Mom Zoe, has had a phenomenal birthday celebration with her son boy. We're going to see you in 7 days, everybody. Shout out to you all who have joined the Whiskey Wednesday live on Instagram and on YouTube. Folks, we're on YouTube. Check us out at Chats Liquors on Instagram, on YouTube. Go to Chats dash DC, no, I'm so sorry, D6B. Chats slash D6B on YouTube to go ahead and give us those early follows because we don't populate within the stream otherwise. Oh my God, it's been a great time. We'll see you in 7 days, folks. Happy anniversary to Chats Liquors. Now entering its 92nd year of business. And within the Williams family ownership, it's 48th year of operation within Chats Liquors. We'll see you Friday from 5 to 8 for spirit tasting. It might be some of this Bardstown Bourbon Company product, and Saturday for our wine tasting from 3 to 6. See you then, everybody. Cheers.